Hello everyone, welcome to the Make Creative Podcast, your monthly podcast of creativeness. Today, we've got Sam.
Hey guys.
And we've also got Micah.
Hello.
So, we're going to be talking to Micah about...
Hi, Joel.
They always forget me.
Also Joel. Sorry.
I never forget you.
I feel bad because Joel is a really good sound guy and we really appreciate him because we used to have this old sound guy.
Alright, I'm putting this out right now. Kelvin, if you want to come on and make fun of him, you're allowed to. We'll give you your own podcast. It's not me, it's always him.
No, it isn't. Get out of here. It's him too. It is him too. In fact, this was his idea.
Absolutely not. I love you, Kelvin.
Anyways.
Hope you're going okay, Kelvin. I took no part in this whatsoever.
Okay, so Micah, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello guys, I'm Micah. I'm a year 12 student at Perth Modern School.
Yeah, nice.
That's basically 99% of what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, cool.
Tends to be how it goes when you're at school.
Yeah, especially year 12, very full on. So you came on and you played violin for us. What got you into violin?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I don't think a lot of people know this. So when I was little, I really enjoyed watching movies or like TV, I guess. I was really into Thomas the Tank Engine.
Great show.
Great show. I mean, it's a classic, isn't it?
Yeah. One movie that my dad showed me when I was little it was called The Country Bears, and it was about a set of 4 bears, and they were a band and they broke up. And the basic plot of the movie is that they're getting back together and they have a big concert at the end to save the building that they performed in all the time, Country Bear Hall. One of the 4 bears, who I thought was the coolest because he had a nice hat, was Zeb Zuber. And Zeb Zuber, for those who haven't watched the movie, plays the fiddle. So when I was little, and I watched this movie, I really thought, oh, that's pretty cool. So I asked my mum and my dad, can I learn to play the fiddle as well? And it took about, I'd like to say 6 months to a year of asking before mum was like, okay, we'll go and find a teacher. So that's when I started. I was almost 5, I think, when I started my violin lessons.
Yeah, cool.
I could not pester my parents for 6 months over something when I was 5.
Yeah.
I would have forgotten and pestered them about something else by then.
It probably helped that I watched the movie pretty frequently.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I did pester my parents a lot about getting a Barney because I watched the Barney movie every...
Oh, wow. I've never seen the Barney movie.
Have you not?
It's good?
Like a stage performance thing.
Oh, really? Is it good, though?
We're getting really off track, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so since learning violin, where are you at now? Do you play with a group, or did you end up getting the Country Bears together and playing in a band?
Yeah, so I think... I've been in a lot of different ensembles over the years. My primary school, which is actually just down the street from where we're recording, they're all wind instruments at that school. So there's like clarinets, flutes, a couple trumpets. There might have been a couple other instruments, but they were all wind instruments. So for someone who was learning violin, I had to go and look for ensembles that ran outside the school. So I was in this ensemble called String Beans for a few years.
That's a great name.
Yeah.
String Beans, that's so good.
Yeah, I actually wonder how they're all going now. I haven't really been involved after I left. When I was in year 4, I applied for the West Australian Youth Strings, so I went over to there. They used to rehearse at Churchlands, senior high school, but I don't know if they're still there. I think they've moved somewhere else. So I was at different ensembles like that until I went to Perth Mod, and fortunately the school had like its own symphony orchestra, so I was in the junior symphony orchestra for my first couple of years, and then I moved into the senior symphony orchestra, which is where I have been for the last 3 or 4 years now. But apart from that, I've also been involved in a string quartet, which runs in my year group. A few different year groups have string quartets at the school, and we've been together since year 7. So that's been
wow. Okay, so you guys are pretty tight then in terms of like
Yeah.
performance and stuff. And do you perform like semi regularly or?
Yeah, so we've been just performing at school ensemble, well, at school concerts, because that's where, like, it's a school ensemble.
Yeah, sure.
So that's probably, it varies between once and twice a semester based on when they schedule concerts.
Yeah, okay, cool. And then, so you're in year 12 at the moment. What's the plans after you finish school?
Yeah, so I think my main plan is, I guess, I want to go to university. There's a few things I've considered studying. I think at the moment, the thing I'm leaning towards is pure mathematics. I really enjoy mathematics Olympiads and maths at school. So that's something I'm really interested in. Depending on where I end up studying or applying for and what I want to do, there might be a few other things I do on the side, whether I do a double major. So I might do something like law, might do another type of science. I might even do music. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, sweet, cool. Yeah, awesome. If you were to do like music, what specifically would you sort of move into, do you think?
Yeah, I'm not really 100% sure. I don't know exactly how music works at university.
Yeah, sure.
I think the main thing that I'm focused on that I'll definitely try to do, even if I don't try and study music at university, is see if our quartet can stay together after we all leave school. Fingers crossed no one moves into state.
Yeah. Well, you have to just, I mean, it's playing with a group of people that especially ones you're familiar with is awesome. Like it's really good. Like it's I would say it's a bond that you never really break. It's something you always remember. There's some people I've played with that I haven't seen in years, but I still remember the times that I played music with them, and like that was a special moment. I've played alongside Micah at church. Micah's obviously super talented, as you can tell from that recording, and it's been really good to have him on. What about violin do you find particularly difficult?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think I'll try and compare it to the other instrument I played, which is guitar, because of course guitars were a major part of the Country Bears as well. A few of them play guitar. So yeah, I think the thing that whenever people who play guitar look at violin or other string instruments, I guess, the thing that immediately stands out is that there's no frets. So I guess the muscle memory is a bit different. Sometimes it's harder to get the exact right note, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have to be like super, super accurate?
Yeah.
There's like a lot of leeway in guitar.
Yeah, I feel
really.
like there's, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Comparison.
But you can be anywhere on that fret and you're pretty much going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of leeway, because I think particularly when you develop a little bit and learn vibrato, which is basically when you watch a violinist performing and their hands are shaking a lot, there's a 75% chance it's not because they're nervous, it's because they do it on purpose. And the way that it works is that it vibrates, it actually moves the pitch a little bit, it wavers slightly backwards and forwards, and that means that there's a little bit more leeway for the note that you're playing, and it also means that the tone is going to be better as well. So yeah.
So okay, so what about the best thing? What's your favorite thing to do on violin? Is there like a particular song, or maybe like a particular method, or like a particular part or style that you particularly enjoy?
I don't know if there's a particular style that I enjoy. I think that it depends on my mood. There's different things that I like to play. Sometimes I really enjoy playing by myself. I enjoy just being able to be in my room and play through whatever I'm working on, and it doesn't need to be perfect or whatever. Sometimes I really enjoy when I'm playing with other people, whether it's in quartet or whether it's with school orchestra. There's something about the symphony orchestra and the sound that it makes that it just it's really easy to lose yourself in it, I guess.
Yeah. So how many people are in the orchestra?
Well, there's about 50 people in the WhatsApp group. Yep. I think that's most of them.
Yeah, okay. So what's it like playing in a group that big? Does everyone sort of know each other and get along, or is it like, because I can imagine
like instrument by instrument, like
is it like
for instruments?
Yeah,
and stuff?
is it is it sort of like sectioned off to like, wind instruments are their own group and then strings are their own group and then percussion's their own group? Or is it kind of like everyone just gets along and hangs out? Because I feel like 50 people is that's a big group. I can only imagine trying to go out to dinner with everyone would be.
Yeah. I think there's a couple different dynamics. Like there is, of course, the little divide between strings and wind instruments, just based on because wind instruments also have the like concert band that they do as well. So we as the string players, we like to say, yeah, symphony orchestra's the best, right? And then try and get them to agree with us. Sure. But I think the other thing, because it's at school, there's also like the divide between different year groups.
Sure. Okay.
So I think it's pretty good considering that we only have a couple rehearsals a week, and it's not a very social activity going to rehearsals. Okay. If we talk like all the time, then we won't get much done.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've definitely tried to get some.
Sorry, Sam's about to pipe up here.
I was like, now I'm flashing back to primary school when I was in orchestra for saxophone. Yeah, and it was like you rock up at like 7 a.m. or earlier, and you just like stay quiet and do the practice and then go on your way.
Yeah. So there's a few things that we've tried to do. A lot of it is, I guess, to do with, I guess, the WhatsApp groups just to start. It's like partly there for making sure that everyone gets announcements because not everyone pays the most attention when the conductors are talking. And they might miss things or they might just not be there for a rehearsal. But it's also there to try and add a bit more of a social aspect. We actually organised to go to Kings Park during these holidays.
Oh, nice.
That was pretty good. We had about, I would like to say, close to half of the orchestra actually come.
There's still like a lot of people. Like,
oh yeah.
So you just where do you rehearse? Do you just rehearse at school?
Yeah, we rehearse in. Well, this is actually a little bit of a contentious point, but at the moment, about half of our rehearsals are in the main auditorium, and the other half are in one of the smaller classrooms off to the side. So we switch between those depending on what day it is.
I mean, I feel like the classroom would have to be somewhat big.
It's one of the. It's a larger classroom, and they often use it for doing exams. So if it's a subject that doesn't have as many people doing it, like your English or your maths or science, like if it's a subject like maybe French or even music, really, and there's only like between 20 and 30 or 40 people, they'll have exams in there.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Sweet.
Cool. So the piece you performed on the channel, can you tell us a bit about it? Why you chose that piece? What it's about? Sounded really cool. So I just want to hear a bit more about it.
Yeah. Thanks. So Ashrakan Farewell is a piece that I learnt it a couple years ago. And it was actually in one of my violin exam. I don't know what, like syllabus, I guess. And it was a piece that I chose to learn at that point because I just thought I really enjoyed the emotion that you could feel that was put into the piece. I think, it's kind of got that American like folk energy to it. And it's something that I enjoy. Like I enjoy music written by Dvorak, for example, which captures that American. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just got that feeling to it. So when you actually asked me, Connor, about coming on, I was in the middle of a little break from practicing the violin because I had finished my HR for violin last year.
Yep.
And I was just a little bit tired, and I took a break from practicing. And I focused on a few other things, like my maths, and I didn't feel like any of the music by like Bach or Paganini that I had been playing before was really. I didn't know if I'd be able to get it to a standard that I wanted to be able to perform it in time. Yeah. Okay. So I had a look through music that I hadn't played in a while, and I saw Ashrakan Farewell, and I thought that it really fit. There was something that felt right about it. So I went in and I had a look at it, and I played around with it to make it a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more flashy.
Yeah, cool. Hey, it was awesome. So if you were trying to make it flashy, it worked.
Thanks.
Cool. So violin to you, how do you use that to worship God? So obviously you play in church, but is there any other ways? Like, do you like? For me, I will be if I'm practicing in my room quite often. I'll pray and then I'll just sort of like improv and just play guitar, like random chords, random words, and just sort of like I guess just like have a little praise and worship thing in my room. Do you do like a similar thing with violin at all, or something of the equivalent?
I don't do things like that a lot when I'm practicing. I know that my violin teacher has done things like that with me a few times. I think because I'm very with the violin, it's something that I've always been very classically trained in, and even being in the church music team has really. I've had to learn a lot about improvisation while I've been here. I think what I've always really appreciated about the violin and classical music is how it is really its deep connection with the church. Because when people think of religious music, they always think of, stereotypical, like just the music that you'll hear in church, whether it's hymns or whether they're thinking of like Hallelujah chorus, stuff from Handel. And the truth is that a lot of music and a lot of composers were deeply religious as well. Bach, who wrote a set of 6 sonatas and partitas for violin, dedicated a lot of his work to God, and he worked for most of his life at various churches as well. I think that when I listen to music and I have a look at what was behind the music, whether it's who wrote it or what it was written for, I'm really able to see God in that, I think. And it's something that when I listen to music, I'm able to reflect on.
Yeah, cool. So where do you feel closest to God is my next question. This is a more challenging question, but do you feel like it's when you play violin, or maybe you can just be like, you're spending time with family or stuff. It doesn't specifically have to be about violin. So where do you feel closest to God?
Yeah. I think similar to a lot of things, it's more about individual moments, I think, than any particular place. Like, if there's a place in particular that I feel really close to God, I would say it's a church. I've been at Riverton Baptist Community Church for basically as long as I can remember.
Yeah, you've been and I've been here for a long time as well. Actually, I think I've been going to River longer than you've been alive. So, I think I always remember you being at Riverton. So, sorry, I'll let you.
Oh, it's okay. I think I feel like when just the worship in general, whether I'm in the congregation or whether I'm up in the music team, I feel that connection there.
Cool.
There's particular songs as well that that I remember playing when I was first starting out in the music team, that when I play them now, I just feel that connection that I've had for years. I think that's probably, I guess if there's a single place that I feel most connected, it's probably the church.
Yeah. Cool. So how have you ever attempted to sort of write your own pieces?
Yes. I think the shortest answer is that we've had to at school.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
I haven't written a lot of music outside of assignments that we've had to do. But I have, I guess sometimes I've written a little bit more than we have to because I'm very much a completionist. I can't write the start of something and not finish it.
Okay.
So I remember the first example of this is probably in year 8 when we had a music assignment and we were supposed to write this piece, but we only had to write the part for one instrument. And being the pedantic person I am, I decided to write out the entire string quartet part anyway.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
I do not have that commitment to things.
Yeah, so wow, that's awesome to write all the parts out. That means you must enjoy it then as well, because obviously if you didn't enjoy it, there's no real passion to do it. So
yeah, there's a lot of things that I wish I had more time to put into it, I guess, because composing is something that I would enjoy to do more. It's just that to do, I'm still at the point where it takes a long time to write anything, and being at school still, it's very hard to find the time.
Sure, yeah. So,
yeah, I just want to ask, like, back on, say, with you playing on worship music and stuff, what's it like kind of, I'm guessing you kind of have to write your own bits for when you play along, because it's not like many worship songs have string stuff written, right? Kind of what's that like? Because I love Bethel music, and one of the reasons I love Bethel's music is because they use strings really often. It sounds great in worship. So what's it like kind of writing those sections or doing that sort of stuff within the context of worship?
Yeah, this is something that I've really had to adapt to over the years. I actually, it was funny because a few days ago I actually had someone ask me how old I was when I started doing worship music, and I can't remember. So
Isn't that the way?
yeah, my answer was like a few years ago. I was like, I cannot remember when I started. And when I did start, I was still like, I was good enough to play violin like with some confidence, but I wasn't good enough to do any improvisation at all. So what I always did, I just played the melodic line that the singers were singing. And I think the point where I started to really do more improvisation and looking at making up lines for the violin was actually when Jenny became the worship director at Riverton. And she really encouraged me to try different things that I wasn't used to. So it's been a process of a few years, but I think now it's at the point where I suppose for different pieces, different songs, there are lines that you can find, whether it's actually written in the music during an interlude or whether you can listen to different recordings. When it's a song that doesn't have lines written out or lines that I know about, it's a lot more, I guess, typical harmony, because being classically trained, I always just look at the chords and then go and play notes that fit in with those chords, I guess. And that's something that I've been able to learn a bit from composing as well.
So when you do composing, how do you do that? See, for me, when I write music, I sit there and I'm just basically improvising until I come across something that I really like. And then once I've got the music together, I then basically the same process with the lyrics. But with composing strings, do you do you do it theoretically, or do you also sit there with a violin playing things and you're like, oh, that sounded good, or that didn't sound good, or how do you sort of write pieces, I guess?
Yeah, that's there's something, I think this is an approach that is very similar for just doing anything creatively. So I also have this approach for when we have English creative assignments, I suppose. Generally the turnaround I think for assignments at school is around 2 weeks. So I will spend one of those weeks just trying to come up with ideas, and then one of those weeks doing actually doing it, I guess.
Yeah.
What you were talking about earlier with just trying to come up with a line that fits is probably what I spend that first week doing, just trying to come up with things. And if I come up with multiple ideas, I'll just write them all down anyway. And I'll have a document that just has something and then 2 lines of rest and then something else.
Yeah, okay.
And I'll see what I can come up with. I won't do a lot of harmonizing because for me, that's something that I've learned very theoretically.
Sure.
In the second week, once I have that, I'll try and pin down exactly what I want to do, work out the structure of it, work out the key, and then that's when I'll spend that week doing all of the other parts and work out where the melody should go for different sections.
Yeah, cool.
Because the actual accompaniment or counter melody is something that I know the theory for, so I can do that a bit. That like I know how long it's going to take me to do that, so I can plan ahead for that.
Yep.
And then I just need to set the time for how long the creative process takes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sweet. Cool. Wow. Okay. That's interesting. That's definitely interesting because like obviously for me like when I mean I certainly don't write anything down. Everything's in my head. Although Sam and I do recordings. Hopefully they'll stay buried forever. But
they're not great.
Yeah, they're not great. But we do. A lot of it was learning. Yeah. I think that may be all we have time for today. So I just want to say a big thank you to Micah for coming on.
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, really appreciate it. It's been really cool to have you on and talk about it. I feel like a lot of people don't have access to people who know strings. Like I feel like they're different circles, like classical. I mean, so it's cool that like actually have someone that plays violin. So it's also my favorite instrument once again. So that's why I'm like low key frothing the violin. Anyway, thanks you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Make Creative channel, and have a really good week. And we'll see you next Friday.
Bye.
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 Bye, Joel.
Bye. I'm still here. I never leave. I'm always watching or listening.
Stayed on.
Never speaking, always watching.
Yeah.
Do you ever think
And
it's because
listening.
you have an ugly voice?
Oh, what?
Do you ever think it's because you have an ugly voice?
Nah.